The midday sun shone brightly above the village sky, spreading golden light that enveloped the expanse of rice fields and green gardens. Sweat flowed down my forehead as I stepped on the rice field embankment, preparing to go home after spending hours working in the fields. The sound of crickets and the gentle breeze accompanied my slow steps. When I was almost at the path to the house, my eyes caught the figure of someone busy in the garden at the edge of the rice field. I looked more closely. It turned out to be my neighbor, harvesting bitter melon that was climbing on bamboo stakes that were neatly stuck. Green bitter melons hung from the tendrils, some of which had been picked and put into a bamboo basket that was almost full. I smiled and waved. "Harvesting bitter melon, sir," I said loudly so that I could be heard in the silence of the afternoon. He turned his head, his aging face looking bright even though sweat was dripping down his forehead. "Yes, son. Thank God. The harvest this time is quite large. The weather is good, so the results are good," he answered in a satisfied tone. Interested in taking a closer look, I walked over to him. As soon as I arrived, I noticed the bitter melon that had just been picked. It was dark green in color with an elongated shape and its distinctive serrated surface. I took one and touched it, feeling the rough but fresh texture of its skin. "The results are also quite large, sir," I said as I put the bitter melon back into the sack. He smiled broadly. "Yes, if it's like this, it's enough to sell to the market tomorrow. This bitter melon is a vegetable that sells quite well, especially if the quality is good," he said while continuing to pick the bitter melons one by one with agile movements. I looked around, enjoying the shady atmosphere of the garden even though the day was so hot. Bitter melon vines spread between bamboo poles, forming green corridors that were refreshing to the eyes. The sound of leaves rustling in the wind added to the tranquility of the afternoon. "If you like, just take some to take home," he said suddenly, making me smile happily. "Wow, thank you very much, sir. You can cook it at home later. Stir-fried bitter melon is also delicious, huh?" I said while taking some fresh bitter melons. He just chuckled. "Yes, just don't forget the salt water first so it's not too bitter." We laughed together. After chatting for a while, he continued his work of selecting and picking bitter melons that were ready to be picked. And in my hands now are some fresh bitter melons, a gift from a kind neighbor. I feel grateful to be able to live in a village that is still thick with a sense of togetherness. Here, not only is the harvest abundant, but also the warmth and kindness between residents are always closely knit. In this village, every harvest is not only enjoyed by oneself, but also shared with neighbors as a form of gratitude and a sense of belonging. Kindness flows selflessly, teaching that true happiness does not only come from what we have, but also from how we share with others. I held the bitter melon tightly, not only as a produce, but as a symbol of the goodness that is still preserved in this village. With a smile on my face, I walked home, carrying not only fresh bitter melon, but also the warmth of brotherhood that always lives in the village community. Our conversation was accompanied by light laughter that lightened the atmosphere. I am always amazed by the friendliness and kindness of the people here. Without hesitation, he handed me some fresh bitter melons, a small gift full of meaning. I accepted them happily, feeling so appreciated and welcomed in this warm environment.
As I walked home, I reflected on how lucky I was to live in a village that still upholds the value of togetherness. Here, life is simple, but always full of care and affection. There are no high walls separating one house from another. No busyness that makes people forget to just say hello.